I'm curious to get your take on this idea of POCs for people, like take home projects and even like stretching that a bit further into like trials. So I had a short stint at WordPress.com at Automatic, and they take this like very seriously. So very much like you would purchase Martech. Like you do the evaluation, interviews, whatever, you have a candidate that you want to hire, but instead of sending them a contract and then seeing like how they're going to do in the first 30, 60, 90 days, they actually make you go through a take-home project that's actually like a trial project. And it's really like I'm opinionated because oftentimes people are applying for these roles and they have a full-time role already. So you're asking this person to spend like 10, 15, 20 hours per week with a second company. Sometimes it's like there's cross-contract obligations there. But anyways, it was a really interesting project. And I saw a lot of analogies with like the right way to build a proof of concept and sandbox when possible with some of your tools. No, it's not always possible with like regulated industries or whatever, but what are your thoughts on like take home projects and like even like this idea of like having a trial period with someone and getting to know them, getting feedback from people and like, hey, this person's not a good fit. We don't have to go through the whole process of like doing a performance improvement plan in the first like 30, 60 day, 90 period, maybe as like probation. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I I feel like I'm in the camp of not being a huge fan of these really heavy take-home exercises when it comes to people recruitment. Um, and simply because I think the the thing that you're trying to answer is can they do the job and how effectively can they do the job? And I think when it comes to, people, you can get a lot of that answered through the time commitment that they've already made through various rounds and stages and panels of interviews with you. Some circumstances can warrant it, like a very technical type of a role, but um, generally not a fan. Now, that being said, for Martech, I think this is where my opinion differs a little bit. And it differs even, it's more nuanced, within the type of Martech that you're investing in. Um, Again, if it's just like experimental and a very like minute part of your overall product and customer experience or your internal employee experience, then maybe it doesn't require that level of rigor. You can or maybe it's not like as much of a budget commitment either, or like a resource commitment. You can kind of go in with not necessarily your blinders, but like you can still kind of take some risks there. Whereas I think if you're investing in technology that's going to be an integral part of your business and your overall like operating model, you do need to kind of take an extra step to do your due diligence. I'll share an example of this. We did a couple of years ago. This was actually before my time, so can't take credit for this, but I think it's a good example nonetheless about a topic that I'm very passionate about, which is contact enrichment. And so a couple years ago, we were, looking at a few different vendors to integrate into our pipeline that would enrich the leads that are coming in with all the different fields that we wanted to be able to kind of route them effectively and send them on the right personalized nurture experience and all that. And I think the three vendors that we were, kind of like validating this with was Clearbit, ZoomInfo, and Demandbase was the third one. I won't share my share like our insights, but essentially what the team did was they provided sort of a sampled list of contacts to the three vendors,
Hmm.
and this is a very like scrappy, but like provides like a bit of a proof of concept.
Yeah.
They provided just a generic list of contacts, and then just observed and analyzed the enrichment rates across the three different
Yeah.
platforms to see which one kind of had the winning
Hmm.
winning impact for the fields that were most critical for us and our business and our routing rules and all that. And ultimately, like the team only had the capacity and the budget to integrate one of the three. We couldn't like integrate multiple at that time, and so we ended up picking the one that drove the highest results. And when you look at these, a lot of these solutions on the surface, they're all very similar. They're all credible. They have great reputations. They have great reviews. Really solid proof points and customer testimonials and case studies and all that. So on the surface, everything looks very similar. Their pricing models are similar as well. So you almost have to kind of like do that extra step of due diligence to make that final call and that final distinction of what's going to be best for your business needs at that time. So that was an example that I thought was a good one to kind of showcase how you have to kind of go that extra mile and provide almost a take-home assignment to your technology solutions.
Very cool. Yeah, I appreciate the practical example there. Yeah, three really cool vendors, really powerful use case there. And I think that one specifically for that niche like subcategory of Martech is a very valid one for doing like a quick like POC. Let me send you a couple of leads. Another one that we had on the show recently was Allegro. They do like contact validation, like email validation plus more stuff. So like they tell you the likeliness that someone is like not a good contact to reach out to if
Oh,
you're
wow.
doing like outbound stuff. So like how likely is that person to mark you as spam, or how likely are they part of like an inbox provider with a ton of like safety net rules, blah blah blah. And so you can quickly do a proof of concept with them, same format, send them a subset of your list, and they come back with like, yeah, these are like 150 people that you should never email in the future. And just that alone like improves
Powerful.
some of your stuff. So yeah, yeah, the proof of concept for sure is easier said than done in certain scenarios. And yeah, I mostly agree with you with like this idea that, take home projects and doing a trial, you're asking so much from the candidate. Like the onus often is on you to do the evaluation process in the like 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds of interviews you've already had.
Yeah.
But the other angle to that is like I actually enjoyed the process from a candidate standpoint at Automatic, because how often have, and I know you've been at like Shopify for quite a bit of time. You were at Dropbox for quite a bit of time. If you look at my resume, I'm a bit more of like the red flag, like this person bounces between roles like here and there. And like what I found is like sometimes the interview process from my point of view like looks great. The senior management team looks amazing. The team members look great. The tech stack looks great. Promises of like greener pastures, and then you join, and within a couple of weeks, you're just like, what did I do? Like, this is a mess. And every company is like not perfect. Everyone has like things, but like there are certain things that come out really early when you join a company that you're just like, yeah, nobody told me about this in the interview process. And I wish that was an extra data point in my evaluation grid because maybe I wouldn't have taken that leap. And that shit comes up in the trial process. Like I got to like work for 2 weeks with my hiring manager who would eventually become my boss. And I got to meet the data team who I would be working with on propensity models. And I got to meet the engineer who's building the in-house custom data platform. And so I don't know, like the experience was really cool because I got a lot more information than I would have from a candidate standpoint in the interview process. Very similar kind of way, but I don't know, you flip that with like the Martech analogy and it's like, do vendors really care about getting to know potential customers? Not really. Like the analogy breaks a little bit there.
Yeah, like I think it's different needs or like motives to go that extra step, but I
Yeah.
think the actions or the way you do it is similar. And I think it goes back to our top conversation about backdoor references. I think they're
Mhm.
applicable just as much to the hiring manager as they are
Mhm.
to the candidate as well. Like you should be asking people in your network, like, hey, give me the real deal. You worked here for a while. Like what
Huh.
what was the experience
That's
like?
so true.
How toxic is the culture? And how do they deal with change? And so how's the leadership? And so I think, yeah, the back to reference comment is really helpful to both the candidate as well as the recruiter.